Hey guys, welcome to today's video. For today, I'm going to be reviewing Season 1, Episode 6 of Alien Earth, The Fly. In this episode, it starts off with picking up where Episode 4 left off. So we see Wendy, she's still trying to communicate with the alien creature that was born. Joe, or Hermit, as she calls him, he wants to take Wendy away from the facility, and he's trying to find info on how he can get that done. Adam, he sees that Nibs' behavior is becoming problematic, so he orders Dr. Arthur and Sylvia to have her memory erased. Arthur protests this and is fired, but Sylvia decides that she's going to stay, causing Arthur to feel betrayed. Cavalier and Yutani, they meet up to negotiate the return of her alien creatures. They come to an agreement, but Cavalier still finds a great hole to exploit in order to hold on to the alien creatures longer. Kirsch and Morrow, they meet up in an elevator and they have a subtle verbal confrontation where they basically silently threaten each other. I'm guessing that this will foreshadow some sort of physical showdown between these two. Nibs' memory is wiped, so she doesn't remember anything before the crash. When Wendy comes to greet her, she realizes that something is wrong. Slightly is still getting blackmailed by Morrow. He tries to get Hermit to get impregnated by the alien creature, but before he can get Hermit to the lab, one of Hermit's co-workers snags him away. Wendy confronts Dr. Sylvia about Nibs' memory wipe. Sylvia acknowledges what happened and explains herself by saying she did what she did because she cares about Nibs. Wendy expresses that she's becoming distrusting of Prodigy because of this and points out the flawed logic in Dr. Sylvia's reasoning. Kirsch instructs Toodles to feed the alien creatures. Toodles, wanting to prove himself to Kirsch, does this by himself. Everything goes well except one of the feeding cage doors breaks, so Toodles decides to enter the cage by himself. In the process, he gets locked in with the fly alien. The fly alien attacks him and causes Toodles' unit to go haywire and shut down, possibly killing Toodles in the process. Joe meets with Arthur to find out if Wendy is safe. Arthur secretly confirms that she's not safe there and instructs him to get Wendy out of there. Arthur sees that Toodles' unit is not responding and goes to check on him. Slightly happens to be there as well and locks Arthur in the lab with a facehugger, and unfortunately for Arthur, he isn't able to escape and gets attacked by the facehugger. All the while, the events in the lab were being observed by Kirsch. So this episode, The Fly, is basically the theme is about what a fly represents. A fly represents, a structure failing because flies, they tend to go around stuff that are rotting, that are decaying. So we see, hints of that. We sort of see hints of that throughout the episode. There's a dialogue between Joe and Kirsch where, Joe says that Wendy's just a kid, and Kirsch says, keep telling yourself that. That sort of establishes how Wendy is part of something bigger, how she's part of a system, and Wendy throughout the episode, Wendy is becoming distrusting of it, and the whole system there is falling apart. Arthur and Sylvia, they're the husband and wife scientific team, but when something comes up that Arthur decides to protest, Sylvia stays, so you can see that there's betrayal. Their system's falling apart. Slightly's world is falling apart due to the fact that he never told anyone he was being bugged by Morrow and his ill-fated attempt to befriend Morrow. And now, because of all this, Arthur is now impregnated by the facehugger, and his eventual death is going to be on Slightly's conscience. Toodles, his system is starting to fail because he wanted to prove himself to Kirsch, and because he decided to do things by himself, it ultimately gets him killed. A scene I really liked was the elevator scene between Morrow and Kirsch. I really liked the whole tension in the scene, how the dialogue and how they're just playing off each other, the threats that they're making. I especially love the design of the set, how there's mirrors on both sides, so you basically have this never-ending image on both sides. It sort of plays on the fact that they're both essentially products of their companies, and how they're basically almost like products on an assembly line, and they're basically replaceable. It also really does play into the fact that they're just like how it's a never-ending image, their conflict is never-ending, and because Alien Earth it's a prequel show to the Alien film series, so sometime after the events of this, Weyland-Yutani is still going to be in the future, is still going to be trying to capture the alien creatures. So their battle really is never ending, and they're part of a conflict that's likely never going to have any real resolve. Another scene I really liked was Toodles' death scene, just because it was just so well done. I mean, so the fly attacks him, and his unit just starts going haywire. The fluid inside just starts gushing out. His face just starts the face starts bubbling up on the side and gushes out, and it's all done in like the same scene. It's not like there's like a cutaway to something else and cutaway back to him where makeup could be applied or anything like that. It's all just done in one take, and it's just really just I really give the effects people props for that part. One thing that I thought was a bit of a missed opportunity in this episode was the negotiation scene between Cavalier and Yutani. So the scene is filmed with a lot of fixed shots, and I just think, I mean, there are some pan-ins during the dramatic moments, but for the most part, I think it's kind of filmed in a bit of a boring way. I think would have played out better if it was filmed more like the briefing scene in Aliens when Ripley was essentially being confronted by Will and Yutani about the events on the Nostromo. I think it definitely would have created a better adversary kind of vibe to it, and also it just would have been a great callback to Aliens. Scene with Arthur when he's trapped in the lab, that scene too was I like that scene a lot. Very, with the sound of the facehugger approaching, you almost think that Arthur trying to get out. You're really hoping that Arthur does get out of there, and unfortunately that wasn't to be. Even though it's not really a big part of the show, I really liked the scene of Joe meeting with Arthur, mostly because Joe and Arthur, they're definitely they're two good, like pure morally good characters, whereas Alien Earth is just it's filled with a lot of morally gray people. So just seeing two good guys like them interact with each other, it just felt like very refreshing to see. And it almost it really does make me kind of bummed out that Arthur's gonna die from getting impregnated by the alien, because I would have liked to have seen more interaction between the two of them. But then again, it's a show that takes place within the alien world, so you have to expect that bad things are gonna happen to good people. The only other real criticism I had is that the character Smee, he still has this childlike behavior to him. Now he is a child, in an adult body, but the other adult the other sins, the other sins are, they're adapting more into more adult-like behavior, whereas Smee still has that childlike behavior to him, and to me it just seemed almost kind of distracting and kind of like it just kind of seems out of place is all. And that's just my own personal opinion on the take, but I can imagine other folks watching the show and I don't know, maybe like getting annoyed with Smee. All in all, I enjoyed the episode. I like how it's showing how things in the system are just falling apart, starting to fall apart now. Like how it's foreshadowing that some showdown is on its way, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. All right, take care.